Okay, friends, I am going to share my screen and then we will get this started. And if anybody comes in, I will try to make sure that you get in here as well. Also, if you guys are watching the replay and you have any questions at all, please, please, please drop them as a comment below and we will get those questions answered for you. Okay. All right. Oh, let me share my screen. Make sure it looks all nice and pretty. All right, this is a copy convo with me, Kelly Harris. I am so glad that you guys are here. It's going to be an amazing, amazing time together. All right, before we get started too much, we are going to jump in through some of the modern business mastery stuff, and then we will get to our copy convo. Welcome to Modern Business Mastery. This is one of our bi-monthly copy convos. I am a resident council member. My name is Kelly Harris, and I am your resident copywriter and fractional marketer. So what I do is I help entrepreneurs find their voice to live purposefully and powerfully through the confidence of their messaging and through themselves. So I help them really connect through my heart framework with their ideal clients. So I'm Kelly. I make your message matter more. I help you convert subscribers into super fans. And I'm a mom to 4, and I have 2 puppies. And I am married to an amazing guy who is very much you're going to do what now? Awesome. Let's go kind of guy. And so we are building an amazing life together, and we love to travel and take the kids on adventures. If you would love to connect with me, I'd love to connect with you. You can catch me on Instagram at Kelly Harris Creative. Facebook is Kelly Harris Copywriter. In LinkedIn is right there, Kelly Harris Creative 208. Or you can just email me, Kelly with a Y at kellyharriscreative.com. Welcome to Modern Business Mastery. This is a community session. We do these to help support you guys throughout different with different things. And so we are so excited that you are here today. You can connect for free in the Modern Business Mastery community. You can connect with them via LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, or like I said, in the free community. If you would like to join the free community, just take out your phone, click that little QR code, and you will be connected. So that would be amazing. I am checking periodically to make sure no one else is coming into our copy convo. All right, so the Modern Business Mastery free community is here to ensure that every entrepreneur has access to the tools and support that they need to grow themselves and their business. So inside you find sessions and mini trainings, monthly work sprints. You find monthly mastery elements for personal and business growth. There's a bi-monthly copy clinic. So this month we're doing a copy convo. Next month will be a copy clinic where you can submit your copy and I will give you some feedback on that to help you make it more amazing. And then months that we don't do a copy clinic, we do a copy convo. We also have fitness and nutrition support for entrepreneurs. Sometimes I feel like we're all entertainers. Access to resources. Oh, awesome. Give me just a minute. Someone's coming in. Access to resources, networking, things like that. And then our quarterly book club. We are so glad that you are here, Liz. I'm just going through our normal stuff. If you're looking for more support that is not within the free community, consider joining the Modern Business Mastery Academy. It is designed for entrepreneurs who are seeking clear, actionable steps so that they can refine their strategies and accelerate their growth. You get a custom business strategy portfolio. You will have some expert-led guidance. You will have some more support within that. And it is a community of collaboration. And really, truly, the people are absolutely amazing. It is just such an amazing community to be in. And then if you're looking for even more support, you can do Mastery 360. It's a year-long business mentorship community that includes one-to-one coaching with weekly group sessions to really help you guide your business week by week. It is an absolutely fantastic thing to do, and I highly recommend it. And then other options, if those none of the previous ones work for you, the yearly courses and workshops, there's always ways that you can level up your operation and kickstart your business. So I highly recommend that you look into that if that is something that you are interested in. So upcoming in the Modern Business Mastery community, we have work bubbles. You can get that done in the monthly 4-hour virtual work sprint. It is absolutely great to put that on your calendar, go to it and see what you can accomplish in 4 hours. We have our Nourish and Flourish, which is our monthly wellness workshops. We have the copy clinics. Like I said, that's every other month. If it's not a copy clinic, it's a copy convo. Either way, you get to see me every month. It's so fun. And then reflection and planning sessions, as well as community sessions. All right. The announcements are out of the way, which is always nice. It is now time to talk about the HEART framework. This is my proprietary framework. It's actually kind of what I live my life by. And so I really wanted, and I'm so excited to be able to share this with you today. So what are we going to talk about? Why your business is different from other businesses and why this community is different. It's kind of why you're in this community is because your business is kind of different. What is the HEART framework? Why does it matter? And then how do we apply it? Or like how I would recommend that you apply it. I'm sure there are other ways. So not every business has heart. People start their businesses for a variety of reasons. Maybe they want to make money. Maybe they want to become famous. Maybe they're just trying to solve a problem that they have. So they started a business because they found an answer. Find a need, fill a need. Maybe they're trying to break generational traumas. There's a number, thousands and thousands of reasons why you started your business, why people start businesses. And so I wanted to start with, why did you start your business? When I first started my business, my answer truly was like, oh, so I can be home with the children and also not work 85 hours a week because I was an educator. And over time, it has really become clear that that really was like the surface level of why I started my business. I started my business to create impact. And I suspect that anybody that's watching this also started their business to create impact. You're not necessarily just trying to make money or just trying to break generational trauma. You are really trying to be a change maker because we are change makers. We started our businesses to make the world a better place. We intend to create impact and long-term impact. And we in turn intend to leave this world just a tiny bit better than we found it. What we do matters and who we serve matters because we are growing our businesses to be pockets of greatness. And that starts with our actions because everything that we do ripples outwards. And so I called them ripples of greatness because everything that we're doing to create impact, to create change, to make this world a better place is just going to be like that drop of water that you drop that one drop in and it just resonates outward and outward and outward. And so, like I said, we are different. Your business has heart if you are in it, not just for the personal benefits, but you are trying to leave the world better than you found it. And so my heart framework is very simple. It's the word heart: harmony, engage, authenticity, relationships, and then creating a transformation for your clients. So let's dive into this. Harmony: align your brand's values with your voice to create a seamless, resonant brand experience. So let's back up. This church, I cannot for the life of me, and I've stared at this picture for hours now, remember what the name of this church is. I can tell you that it is off of the River Thames in England, and this church was built in 1640. What's really interesting about this church is not only did these people build it, they built it to last. So in 1640, and you can put it in the chat or you can unmute or whatever, but what was the vision of this church? What was their true picture of success? What were they trying to do? Well, in 1640, it was all about the church and God. And so they were trying to create a place for generations and generations and generations of believers to be able to worship. And so their true picture of success was that in 1,000 years, that church would still be there and people would still be worshiping in it. But as you can see in that church, all of the buttresses, archways, the trusses, all of it is made out of wood. And so their mission was to find a way to create and keep their vision alive. So what this group of builders did was they created a forest nearby of seeds of the wood that they would need for when the wooden pieces of the church rotted out. They created a forest so that in 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, builders long after they were gone would be able to fix the church and keep it running. And so their mission was, how do we sustain the long term of this church? And the answer that they came up with was, we create this forest. And actually, if you get into it, it's really interesting because they actually had a long-term plan for like the first 5 or 10 years. They actually had a number of acorns that they planted. They actually had a number of X number of trees died off. Therefore, we need to replant this many more seeds so that it would just keep going and keep going. And it was all based on their values, because at that time, their highest value was worship God, because a lot of people didn't live very long. And because of that, they hardcore had a whole plan. They had a plan to keep it going. And to this day, this church actually does exist still. Like I said, I will do a little bit of research, find out the name of the church, but it does still exist. But it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful example of mission, vision, values, because their vision was their long-term picture of success. What is this going to look like after we're gone? After we're dead? How do we keep our vision alive? And their mission was, I think it might be St. Magnus. I know it's off the Thames. And this is one of my very favorite stories, and I talk about it a lot, so I should know the name of this church. But it's to me, it's just so interesting that like people in 1640, the builders were thinking this through that far. Not just, hey, we're building this church and we want it to for our kids and our grandkids. It was like, we want this 10 generations down the line. And so if you think about your business like that, we have to start with our vision. What does our long-term picture of success look like? And then you can work backwards. If that's my vision, what is my mission? My mission is, how are we going to do this? And then, does this align with my values? And then from those 3 things, your mission, your vision, and your values, you can create goals. And all of that, when you do, will be in alignment with who you are and who your business is. And it will create that beginning of that experience. How we create that experience even more is everything that we're going to do through the rest of the heart program, or through the heart framework, is we come back. Does this align with our mission, our vision, and our values? If it does, then we're creating a seamless experience for our people. So we align our messaging back, like I just said. We're complementing our mission, our vision. So our core messaging has to align with what we want. What are we trying to do here? What are we trying to accomplish with our business? That is your core message. That is your core alignment. Because if you say, hey, I'm just going to use you, Liz, because you're here, but like, I am helping the welderly who are well enough to not be in a place where they need significant support, still stay in their homes and still, live life to the fullest at 85. You can meet my parents. They're still doing that and traveling and all the things. Like, your message is, you're not done yet. You've still got all these wonderful things to do. And you also understand that at 75, it's not working like it did at 45. Like some things are a little different. And so your core messaging is targeting that message. That message is like, that message is, you can still have it all. You can still have it all. You can still go do and be. And it's okay to need a little bit of support without feeling like you've crossed that line and have to have daily support. I have a client right now that her mission is to help as many people as possible to create an impact. She's a wellness coach, And what she does is she helps people with chronic pain. So her vision is to help people live more good days than bad days. And all of the branding comes down to that, no matter what we're selling. Is it your feet pain? Is it back pain? Is it figuring out that you have a chronic issue and you're going to have to figure out how to deal with your mindset and your meals and how all of those things affect you? The core message still is live more good days than bad days. And when you align that core messaging, what begins to happen is you start becoming known for that one thing or that one message. And then you literally align your brand experience around that. So, how does your onboarding experience show that message that we're trying to live more good days than bad days? How does, your working experience show them and teach them that we're living more good days than bad days? Even your offboarding, how does that still support them, even though you're not necessarily getting that one-on-one support? And when you start to think about it like that, it becomes really easy to create a brand experience because you're all taking it back to that one core message that you're basically using throughout the entire thing. So we've got the harmony, we've got our mission, vision, and values. Now it's time to engage. We're going to craft compelling content that grabs their attention and keeps them engaged. How do we do that? Well, one, we take it through market research because we have to know how they're talking about their problem. And a lot of market research that I have found, the easiest way to get market research, really easy, talk to people. Like a lot of us want to create these websites or these forums or whatever. Well, one, you're only getting the information of the people who are actually filling out your form. And two, usually if you just have a conversation with somebody, they're going to tell you more than they maybe intended to tell you. And it's fabulous market research. They're going to tell you how you listen, how are they talking about this problem or situation? How are they talking about the thing that you offer? That's market research. And what happens is you might find that you have the exact thing that grabs their attention, but you're not using the words that they're using. And that's where the disconnect is. Because when you are creating compelling content and creating a compelling messaging, we're looking for the disconnect. Where is that disconnect? Where are people falling off the boat? And how do we get them back in that funnel? How do we get them to come back and be a part of our world? And once you figure out how they're talking about that, if you sprinkle some of that in with your messaging and your core message, you start to build that bridge between how they're talking about it and the disconnect and how you talk about it. And so you start to build that bridge for people to be able to cross over. So next is authenticity. This one's really interesting to me because this one is where a lot of people fall off. Authenticity is just ensuring that your message is genuine and you have a genuine passion for it. And why are you telling me? What's the purpose of this? And we're building credibility. So authenticity, as defined by the Webster's dictionary, is just genuineness. Are you actually being genuine about your messaging, or are you tweaking things and making, are we doing, I put bro marketing on there. Are we bro marketing? Are we 10xing everything or 100xing everything? Because here's the thing. Authenticity is really, really, really fragile, and it's very, very, very easy to break. So if you're not being 100% authentic, one, people can smell it a mile away. And you and your brand have a reputation. So if you are doing bro marketing, it only works so far. And here's here's my cautionary tale for you. I actually worked with a coach who said, I can 10x your income. And I did it because, as I told my husband, if she can 10x my income, that's incredible. Like, let's do it. And her guarantee was you will not walk away without 10xing the income. We did not 10x the income. I worked with her one round. We did not 10x the income. In fact, when it came down to like, hey, give me a testimony and all the things, it was like, there are things I really like about your program, but your core messaging, your authenticity was that we would 10x the income, and we did not actually do that. And then we had a major issue because it became down to finger pointing. Who was, oh, well, it's your fault. You didn't do it exactly the way I said. Or it's, if you'd have listened and done blah, 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 then it would have been fine. But that's very bro marketing when what's up? 1 second. Are you okay? Yeah. Okay. Um, when you get into bro marketing and you make these promises, if you cannot consistently hit that, then you have a problem. And so one of the things that I like to tell people when we start working together is we are doing relationship marketing, relational marketing. And the reason is because as the world continues with this fast-paced world that we live in, what is happening is we are getting more and more and more and more and more marketing messages thrown at us. The last time I did any kind of research, it was around 10,000 marketing messages a day that we see. Whether that is on our phone or we're driving by and the billboards are flashing, we're getting tons and tons and tons of of marketing thrown at us. Research is showing that the only marketing that people are responding to is the marketing where you are building a relationship with your marketing, where you are email marketing still, even with the world that we live in, still has the highest return on investment. And it's because people feel like they're building a relationship over time. Now, there are other ways that you can do relationship marketing. That's one of the reasons having a strategy call with someone and giving them action steps and stuff, that's an opportunity for us to talk face to face. That is an opportunity for us to actually be human and talk to each other and build a relationship. And that relationship marketing, from what the trends are pointing at, is getting ready to be more and more and more important as we get more and more messages thrown at us. So it'll be really interesting. Also, and this kind of matters, if your target audience is female, relationship marketing works really well. It even works more, it even works with men. There's a whole psychology we could get down in here on being the authenticity and whatnot, and understanding that actually right now in the market that we're in, the females are actually in charge of about 84 cents on every dollar. So even when men want to do stuff, unless it's their business and they're 100% doing their own thing, they will run those decisions by the women, and the women are ultimately the ones making a lot of the decisions. And like I said, the bro marketing, if you promise you're going to 10x or 100x or 1000x something, that works once, but when you come back and try to sell that person again and again, it doesn't continue to work, is what they are finding. So if you break the authenticity, the problem is now you've messed up your reputation. People are going to talk and they know that you're not being authentic. The other cautionary thing I will say about authenticity is you have to be really careful with authenticity as you grow your business, because there have been a lot of entrepreneurs that reach a certain stage in their business and they will trade their authenticity to try to reach more and more people. And so you have to be really authentic with what you're trying to do and what your mission, vision, goals, and things are, because authenticity, like I said, is real easy to break. And once it's gone, it's very, very difficult to get back. And that brings us, all of those are harmony, engaging, being authentic, brings us to strategic storytelling, which is my favorite. Building relationships. We're building relationships because we weren't meant to do life alone. And so not every story needs to be told. You do not need to tell people what you had for breakfast and lunch unless you can figure out a way to tie it back to your core messaging. If you can figure out a way to tie that back to, I'm telling you about my kids and this is the business lesson I learned from them, which I do quite a bit. Or hey, this happened to us and here's what I learned about life and here's what I learned about business in this thing. So how do you tell? How do you decide which stories you're going to tell and which ones you're not going to tell? For me, if I can tie it back to life and business, because those are some of the core messaging that I do within my own business, that like, yes, I'm teaching people to have heart, and yes, I'm teaching people how to write and how to sell through their writing. But ultimately, life is life and business is part of life. And if I can tell stories that are basically showing people, look, hey, this is what it's like to run a business with 4 children and a crazy husband and 2 wild dogs. And, what it does is it makes you human. It takes you off this pedestal that people are, "Oh, I'm thinking about working with this person," and it says, "Oh, you know what? Um, they're human. They're human," and there's that human piece that if they start to think, and a lot of some of the best pieces that I have had, best emails, are when you tell people a story about the time you messed up. Like, "Oh, hey, I was gonna do this thing, and then I realized we could not do the thing because the car wouldn't start." People love those stories because they are so relatable. So the stories that you tell as you're building those connections and building those relationships are the relatable stories. We are trying to get people to see themselves either A, working with you, or B, working, like, can they see themselves after they've worked with you? Or C, hey, do they see themselves as a friend of yours even though you've never met them before? And if you can do that, then it makes it a lot easier to sell to them because you start treating them, they don't feel like a number, they feel like a real person. And that's actually, I feel like, huge, as you start to try to make conversions and get more eyes on your stuff, the more people that you can really start to build those connections with, because what also happens with relationships is maybe they're not ready to buy from you yet, but they know someone who is, or they're willing to say, "Hey, I've never worked with Kelly, but she sounds amazing, so you should go talk to her." That's what ends up starts to happen as you start to build these relationships. So it does take time, and it does take a little bit of getting that ball rolling, but once you start doing that, everybody knows you. And just a caveat here, as a lot of people do their stuff on social media and build their content there, followers does not equal sales. The right people in your circle equals sales, and the right people in your circle equals referrals. So just that's just my little thought on that. And then the last part of my heart framework is the transformation. We focus on doing those things, the mission, vision, values, the core messaging. How are we engaging with that core message? And how are we being authentic? And how are we building relationships with that core message? If you're doing those things, it leads to this transformation. It leads to people wanting to, they want to be part of your world. They want to be part of your stuff. They want to be part, we're turning that engagement into tangible business growth by getting more eyes on our stuff, by, you know, putting out little messages. Like, there's a ton of ways that we can do this and build these relationships, and it really comes down to just doing it step by step by step. Even if it's an email, even if it's, I laughingly tell people all the time, my email list is tiny right now, but guess what? It is starting to grow. And it's so interesting to me because I have a client who has grown over 1,000 people in her email in 1 month. And it's so interesting to me that I look at the statistics and I feel bad because I'll be like, oh, 1% did this, or 1% bought, or 1%, bought the thing. And that 1% is 500 people because her numbers are so high. So you really have to look really at the data. But how do you get more eyes on your stuff? Again, it's a messaging issue. 90% of it, if you're not getting the right eyes on your stuff and you're not getting what you need, it's a messaging issue. So if you can go back to that core message, and then you just make tiny tweaks off of that core message, or if you feel like you have too many stakeholders that you're talking to, like maybe for my client that is chronic pain, maybe she's talking to families that their parents have chronic pain, and maybe she's talking to, moms that have chronic pain. There are ways that you can actually segment your list and really target different people with just slightly different messaging, so that you're actually building the relationship with them and they're not like, oh, it's an email about a whole bunch of stuff. So if you do that and tweak things just a tiny bit and make them feel like, I always tell people, the goal of any email is A, to make them forget that they're on my list so that they feel like I'm talking directly to them, and B is to make it so they do not care what the subject line is, that they're excited to open it no matter what. And if you can get those two things, then that tangible business growth comes because you're building that relationship and you're being authentic, and your people want to know and they want to be in your world. And so last but not least, how do we apply this? Really, like I said, this comes back to core messaging, making sure that our core message is solid, making sure that the core message is actually the message that we want to put out, and that the core message aligns with what the market research is telling us. because if you have a core message and your audience has a different core message, you might have to tweak it a little bit because you two could be saying the exact same thing, but it would be like they're speaking it in Spanish and you're speaking it in English. You might have that disconnect. And so if you can come back to that core message and then we engage with the right content, we're putting out that content. We're putting out that content that says, here's our core message and here's why. And one thing that I see a lot of brand new entrepreneurs do is they want to tell them what to do and how to fix the problem. But really what your content should be doing is telling them, here's what your problem is. Here are some real small, tangible things that you could do towards fixing your problem. And if you want to know more, get on my list, grab my lead magnet, because you don't want to give them everything for free. So there's a fine line there of how do we keep them involved, give them value we're not trying to give them the entire program. So a lot of times what I've seen past clients do is if they have a huge program, sometimes they will create that program and they will take, like, maybe there's one thing they really love about it. That becomes their lead magnet, that bit. Or maybe I've seen, I had a client several years ago who had a huge program. She took one module and that became like 3 emails worth of content because she gave them that for free so that they could experience it, but she didn't give them everything. And she didn't tell them like, here's how we're fixing this specific problem. She was like, we're building foundations. Here are all the things that need to happen to build the foundations. Here are all the resources I have. And so she was giving them most of it, but she didn't give them the exact how or your secret sauce, if that makes sense. So all of that to say, that is the heart framework. So, oh, no problem. That is the heart framework. We are going to build harmony with our mission, vision, values, what our goals are, how we're going to make sure that everything aligns the way that we 100% want it to align. And then how are we going to engage? How are we creating content that is in alignment with that core message that is going to engage the right people? How are we authentic with that? So there's your A. How are we authentic with that? How are we authentically showing up? How is all of that making it so that we are presenting our best self? And then how are we building relationships with that content, with that is email marketing, with the other things that we're doing, just talking with people in our market research. How are we building relationships every day? And then how are all of those things leading to the transformations that we are trying to create? So there's all of that. And then from there, really it comes down to, I'm trying to think, give me just a second to kind of think this through because I'm going to come back, but we are the change makers. So we're using heart to make the world a better place and creating impact and leaving it better than we found it. So all of that comes down to asking if there are any questions, anything that wasn't super clear or that you wanted to talk about more. I am totally here for it. So
No, it's great.
I'm glad.
Thank
It's
you.
one of those things that it makes sense in my head, but sometimes explaining, it's like, wait.
No, no, it was really clear and the slides were perfect.
Oh, perfect. I love that. Well, and like it's one of those things that we kind of start there and then everything else kind of it like if you're trying to think out your content plan, well, how are we engaging? So if you go back and you're like, okay, where in the heart framework does this fit? Some of them will fit different in multiple places, but also you're like, am I being authentic? Was I just, did I let ChatGPT just write this one for me today? Or did I, whatever that looks like. And so what I have found is it's been a really easy guide. And for me, having heart and teaching people that their voice matters and their messaging matters has been really, really huge. So, but got any other questions or anything?
I don't think so. I mean, I'd have to practice to know where my questions are.
Yeah, no worries. And if you come up with something later, just drop it in and I'll go in
No,
and, answer
thank
it.
you.
So, yeah, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelly.
Anytime. Bye.